Hello there, this is your friend Cindy, and in this video we are gonna give our player an ability. Basically an ability to dash and a trailing effect after that. What are you waiting for? Let's start the video. But first, let me get to my intro. So as of now, we are at our test world scene. First, let's locate our player scene so we can start our code. Just click this icon here and voila, we are at our player scene right now. Let's start by adding two more variables or two more nodes, and it's going to be a timer node and also another timer node. The first timer node would be our dash duration. It will determine how long our duration of dashing will be. Of course, it's going to be one shot, it's not going to repeat itself, and it's going to be just 0.2 seconds. The second thing is our dash cooldown, and for me it's just going to be 1 second, and of course the one shot property is true. All that hassle, let's go to our player script by clicking this icon here, and let's declare the variables that we are going to need to our dash. First is instantiate our two nodes that we have added, our dash duration and our dash cooldown. Next variable is our exported variable dash speed that will determine how fast our dash would be, and it's going to be set as 2000 by default. Let's also add our is dash ready, and it's going to determine if we are ready to dash. Let's not forget to create an enum of our state. Also, let's create a variable state that will store our current state right now. It's going to be moved by default. Let's create a new enum for that, and it's going to be left or right. It will determine what way we are facing. Oops, I got an error there. It's not supposed to be speed but dash. Let's also create a variable that will store which way we are facing, and let's initialize that by right. Now let's create a new variable that will determine the direction. It's going to be like a -1 and 1, but let's set that variable as 0 for now. Next, let's actually determine which way we are facing right now by our facing variable. So if our flash is false or our direction x is less than 0, that means we are facing left. Let's actually check that on our animated sprites or if our flash is false, we are gonna be facing left. And if it's true, we are gonna be facing right. So we can get that as reference of our facing variable here. So if it's false, we need to be facing left. And if it's true, then we are basically facing right. The next thing is we are actually going to configure which state we are on. So as you can see, it is set as move by default, and we are actually just basically moving. And it's because of our method determine velocity. Now let's set that method as our move state. So if we are in a move state, then we have to determine the velocity by our original method there. It's basically make us move left or right. Now if our state is dashing, then we are not going to use our function determine velocity, but we are going to create a new function, but let's put pass for now. we are going to actually create a new function, activate dash. It's going to get our velocity and our dash speed as well. So let's create a new variable velocity that will catch our velocity in the parameters. And let's configure our x velocity first. So we are going to configure that by multiplying the facing direction in our linear speed or our dash speed. Now for the y velocity, let's just set that as 0 so it could go straight line and it's not going to affect us by gravity. And lastly, let's return our new velocity. Let's also copy this method or function here and paste that on our conditionals. Here, if we are on a dash state, then we are going to calculate the velocity in our new function, activate dash, and we are also going to return or to catch a return by our velocity variable. But right now, we don't actually have a thing that will set our state as dash, so it's useless to say state is equal to dash here. For that, let's create a new input, and it's going to be, of course, dash, but I have already created that by mistake. So what I'm gonna do is create a new input map here, and I'm going to call that new dash. Of course, I'm gonna set a key to that, and it's going to be an alt key, and it's finished. Now I'm gonna go here and create a conditionals, and I'm going to check if ever we have press our alt button, and if we have pressed the alt button, we're going to set the state to dash state, and it's going to run or activate dash function. I am also going to determine which direction we are facing, and I'm going to make it -1 if our facing variable is equal to left, and else it's going to return 1 if you're facing right. So now we have a direction if we are facing left or right, and we can just basically dash to that direction even if we are not moving. I am also going to add is dash ready on our conditionals here. And of course, I'm going to set it as false so we cannot dash again and again. I am also going to start our 2 timers, our dash duration and our dash cooldown. And of course, I'm gonna go to the player and create a signal to our 2 timers, and it's going to be the timeout signal for them. So here, if our dash duration timed out, I'm going to set our state to move, so it will stop our dash naturally. And here in dash cooldown, I'm going to set our is dash ready to true so we can dash again after 1 second cooldown. Oops. Let's try to dash. As you can see, we are dashing very smoothly. We are also dying because we are no good at games. Dashing right now, but it's not enough for me. The next thing that we're going to do is create a trail to that. Let's create a new scene, and it's going to be other node. The root node will be a sprite node. And let's rename that trail. Also, it's gonna have a twin as its child. And let's save that trail scene at our object folder. What we're going to do is create a method here that will call our trail scene. First, let's preload our trail scene. And here at our method or function, we are going to get the instance of our preloaded scene so we can use its properties. The first property that we are going to configure is the texture. So right now we don't have a texture to our trail, as you can see here. So what we're going to do is add the texture of our player's sprite. The problem is, it's not just a simple sprite, but an animated sprite. So to do that, we first need to get the sprite frames, and then our idle animation, and the frame. So it's a long process, but it's very easy. So you have already instantiated our anime sprite or animate sprite here. So we can just use that. Animate sprite that. Let's go to the animate sprite. And let's look for functions that we can use. Now let's use the get sprite frames function. And the sprite frames documentation, we can look for the one that will return the texture for us. And it's the get frame function, but it has two parameters: the name of the animation and the ID of the frame. But we already have that here, so it's the animation idle, and the frame is going to determine by the frames in the properties. So it's really easy to do. Here we're going to use the function getFrame and pass the two variables. And we're going to get that by our animSprite animation and animSprite frame. Now that we have already get and apply our texture, next thing that we need to do is apply our scale. As you can remember, we have make our scale 0.3 by 0.3 from the previous tutorial. Also, let's not forget our direction if we are facing left or right. And let's use our tree. Go to the root and then use the call deferred function. And here, let's just say we are going to use a child node or add child method or function, and we are going to add the new trail as that. Now let's use our function add trail and put that on our activate dash. So every time you're dashing, it's going to produce a sprite. And as you can see, it doesn't work. What am I doing? So here I forgot one thing. And it's of course the position of our sprite. I'm just going to get the position of our animate sprite and apply that to the neutral position so that it will be produced wherever we are. As you can see there. Now we are going to configure our tray. Let's add a script that first instantiate our tween here. We are going to modulate, and from the default value of modulation we are going to set that as alpha 0. Also we need the duration for the modulation. We are going to set a new variable duration, and it's going to be full, and the value of 0.5. That means it's going to have a duration of half a second. For the transition, we are going to use translinear, and it's going to be ease out. We are going to actually start our tween here. After starting our tween or our animation, we are going to use yield method so that we can check if our animation is finished. And then we are going to cue our sprite so you don't have any strain on our game. Now we're going to check our game right now. And as you can see, it produced perfect trail there. That's all of the video. If you like the video, you can subscribe.